Okay, thanks for hanging in there with me. We're almost done with this list. I know this seems like an overwhelming amount of material. Once again, trust me, you will get this. I have taught this to hundreds of students over the past 8 years. I remember when I was in that seat myself learning this stuff, it was like, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to learn this? But you will. Just take it a step at a time. We're in summer semester, which means it comes a little bit faster and a little bit more furious than we'd like. And that's why I'm suggesting you try to put 20 hours in your first couple of weeks so that you get this stuff dialed in. Because once we start hitting the body systems, we won't be discussing any of the details of this information anymore. We'll simply be looking at the words of the body system that we're talking about. We're going to learn the combining form, and then learn with the suffixes that we attach to it and the prefixes and how to build words. So this is going to get really interesting, and we're going to get into some really cool stuff about medicine. Not quite there yet. We still have to get the nuts and bolts out of the way. With any luck, this will be the last portion for chapter 1. I'm going to go through these suffixes and give you the best information I can on it. We're going to run them down kind of quickly. So if I pick up speed here, you have to just come back and review the slides on your own, and use your pause button so you can take a look at the slide if I'm moving too fast. Okay, here we go. More common suffixes. Derma is a suffix for skin. Maybe you've heard the term derm before for a doctor's office, and they work with skin. So derma is skin. Dipsia means thirst. Dynia means pain. So now we have 3 suffixes that mean pain. Which one do you use? Trust me, I'll get you there. Ectasis, dilation, expansion, or widening. An ectomy is excision or removal. Edema is swelling. And emesis is to vomit. I'm going to go back up a couple more to ectomy. If you look at the word ectomy and the word excision, they're kind of close. I don't know if that'll help you draw a correlation between the two. Ectomy is going to be used very often in this class. You're going to hear it a lot. You're also going to hear edema quite a bit. So make sure you know those words for certain. And what I would also say about ectasis and ectomy, just use that first word for the definition. I mean, I know there's multiple words. You don't need to know all of them. If something dilates, it is expanding, it is widening. And when we look at ectomy, a removal is an excision. Excision is a more medical term. I would prefer you use that one. It's going to get you closer to the correct definition. Anemia means a blood condition. Aesthesia, as in anesthesia, the stuff they give you before you go into surgery, it means feeling, sensation. So if we take the word aesthesia and put an in front of it, we have without feeling and sensation, if you think back to your prefixes. So aesthesia, feeling, sensation. The next 3 are sort of interrelated. I'm going to go to Genesis first. It means origin, production, formation. For any of you who've studied the Bible, you know Genesis is the first book. It is the origin of the Bible, if you will. Now, off of that, we have 2 words that are related. We have gen, which is a substance that produces. And if we take gen and just for the heck of it, put ick on the end of it, which we know is a pertaining to, it does not make it a pertaining to suffix. It gives us the word genic, which means causing or producing. So gen produces, genesis is the origin, and genic is causing or producing. The next word, the G is silent, although you can say it for fun if you want, gnosis. But what it really is gnosis. It means knowing. It's the suffix associated with the word diagnosis, which would mean knowing through. Grade means to go. Next 3, gram, graph, graphy. These are all interrelated. So gram is the record, the writing, the picture. Graph is the instrument for recording. And graphy is the process of recording. So I'm a rad tech. So when I go in to take a picture, an x-ray of someone, I am I am engaged in the process of radiography, the process of taking an x-ray, of recording an x-ray. The instrument I'm going to use is my radiograph. That's the x-ray machine, the instrument I'm going to use to record it. And when I physically have that x-ray in my hand, that is going to be a radiogram. That means it's a writing, a record, or a picture. One of those 3 words is going to go away next week. I'm not going to tell you which one yet. So know all 3. Know they're interrelated, and know you're going to lose one of them and won't have to worry about it. Gravida, you will see once this semester. It means a pregnant woman. Iasis means abnormal condition. Ism means state or condition. Ist means specialist. And itis means inflammation. Just moving back to ist for a moment, you notice ist is at the end of the word that defines it. So ist is at the end of the word specialist. So hopefully that will help make a correlation for you. Lepsy is seizure. Think epilepsy. Lith is our medical suffix that means stone or calculus. Lithiasis, now earlier I showed you iasis, which means condition, and we've now combined it with lith in a compound suffix that means presence or condition of stones, lithiasis. So, can you combine two suffixes and make a compound suffix? Indeed, we can. We see it right there. We also see it in the next two examples. I already showed you ist, meaning specialist, right? Well, if you take ist and attach it to logi, which means the study of, you get logist, a specialist in the study of. But if you leave logi alone and just put it at the end, so it's the study of. So a cardiologist is a specialist in the study of cardiology. There's a great example for you how those two relate. One's the study, one's the person who studies. Lysis means dissolving or destruction. Malacia means softening. Mastia means breasts. Megaly means enlargement. A meter is an instrument for measuring. Think of a meter stick or like a yardstick. It's an instrument you measure with. And if you're using that instrument, you're engaged in the process of measuring, metry. That kind of takes me back to those other words too, when you have one of them that end up with a Y. So I'm going to give you a little hint here, and this is a really good clue. When you see a word that ends in Y, about 60% of the time they're talking about a procedure or a process. Now you see megaly here, that's not a procedure or process, but metry is. I showed you graphy before. These were all about processes. So when you see a Y at the end of the word, about 60% of the time, that could be talking about a procedure or a process. So keep that in mind if you're struggling with the definition. Okay, a Y likely indicates a process or a procedure. Not always, but often. Mortem means death. Natal means birth. Interesting, they're side by side. Oid means resembling, as in humanoid, if you're an old science fiction fan. So resembling a human, not quite a human. Ol means small. I was going to give you an example. Skip that. Ol means small. Oma means tumor. Coincidentally, it also means grandmother in German. So you may hear me make stupid jokes about mixing up the word Oma and grandmother. So if you hear that, that's the reference I'm making. Trying to make attempts at being humorous. Hopefully that translates. Opia is vision. Orexia is appetite, as in anorexia, which technically means without appetite. I know it's a disease state, but it also means without appetite. Osis means abnormal condition. Osmia, you will see once this entire semester, it means smell. And oxia means oxygen. Sort of looks like its definition if you think about it, so maybe that'll help you remember it. Para means to bear or to give birth. Paresis is a slight paralysis. Periunia is sexual intercourse. The result of that could be partum, childbirth. Pathy means disease or disease state, which ties into another word you're going to hear me use a lot. You're going to hear me say pathology. And when you hear me use that word, we're talking about a type of disease. Technically, it's misused in medicine. We should be saying pathy, but it's somewhere along the line, pathology became the norm, and that's just what we use now in medicine. So you'll hear me use that word a lot. If I say pathology, I'm talking about a disease. Penia means deficiency or decrease. Pepsia means digestion. And pexy is a surgical fixation of an organ. Not just a fixation, it's a surgical fixation. Oh, these two, phagia and phagia. They're hard to distinguish. I'll give you this as a little key to remember this. Phagia, meaning eating or swallowing, has the word or the letters GI towards the end. GI is the abbreviation for gastrointestinal, and it has to do with eating and digesting food. So when you see phagia, I want you to think of those letters GI, and that refers to the GI tract, the gastrointestinal tract, and phagia is about eating. Phasia, on the other hand, has an S in it, and it's about speech. If someone's aphasic, or they have aphasia, they can't speak. The S in the suffix phasia and the S in speech are direct correlations. Hopefully that will help you remember it. Philia is attraction to. Phobia is a fear of. Plasia is development or formation. Plasm is growth or formation. Plasty is surgical repair or plastic surgery. Plagia is paralysis. Nia means breathing. The P is silent. Poesis means formation. Porosis means porous. Prandial means meal. Some will say prandial. Either way, it's correct. Ptosis has a very long definition. You don't need to know all of this. Ptosis refers to downward displacement, prolapse, or sinking of an organ. If you just remember prolapse, it'll be easier for you, and it's actually more accurate. And ptosis, it's hard to say that word. I'll use it in context. Well, can't think of the word. So, pardon me. We'll go back to that. Ptosis means spitting. So when you say it, it kind of sounds like you're spitting, actually. Hemoptysis is the word I was searching for, which means spitting blood. So I put hemo, which means blood, in front of ptosis. It's because it makes it easier for me to pronounce it. It's really hard to pronounce that suffix as a standalone. So if I put it hemo, as I said, which means blood, in front of it, I come up with hemoptysis, and that means spitting blood. So hopefully that's clear and makes sense to you. Once again, my time is running low. The next 4 words are really important, and I want to go over them with you in detail. So I'm going to record another short segment after this, just so I can spend some time on those words, because I want to give you a little extra knowledge on those so that they're clear. So that's all for the moment. I'll be back with you in just a moment.